That will be a very busy contest if yesterday's any indication. Thanks, guys, and good morning to you at home. It is, in fact, 6 o'clock right now on this Thursday, and time for us to take a look at this morning's top news headlines. The hunt is on for a gunman after an overnight shooting in our city's downtown. It all went down just after midnight along 105th Avenue near 101st Street. Police won't say exactly where the man was shot, just that he was rushed to hospital in serious condition. They are now trying to piece together exactly what transpired.
The victim is cooperative. He's helping the police, and the witnesses who are here are helping the police. We're trying to find out what the cause was and who's responsible.
Police are also hopeful that video surveillance from the area will provide them with a lead to their suspect. Mayor Don Iveson says it is time for the province to pitch in on Edmonton's policing.
Our 60+% increase in support for police over 8 years, and the provincial government's 4% increase in support for policing over that same period of time. What would you suggest?
City councillors giving the thumbs up to an additional 35 police positions on Wednesday, but EPS had actually asked for 84. They say to cope with demand tied to the city's growth. The mayor says he is sympathetic to EPS, but he doesn't believe that the burden should be the city's alone.
This is the thing I feel I have to take to the legislature. It's in the letter that we wrote to the premier, and I know things are tight for them, but when things get bad in the rest of the province and people are unemployed, where do they come? You know, if things get tight next year because the price of oil is low, where are the unemployed people going to come? They're going to come here. How are they going to be behaving?
The 2015 budget had previously approved 52 new officers, meaning EPS will get a total of 87 new positions next year. A verdict is expected today in the death of a peace officer in southern Alberta. Trevor Kloczynski is charged with first-degree murder in the death of retired Mountie Rod Lazenby. The peace officer was investigating a dog complaint at Kloczynski's ranch when he was allegedly attacked. The defense, though, arguing that Kloczynski is not criminally responsible due to a mental disorder. Well, opposition members say sliding oil prices should serve as a wake-up call to the provincial government. Opposition leaders taking Jim Prentice to task during QP on Wednesday. They are criticizing the government for relying too heavily on oil revenues. The premier says a new Moody's report shows Alberta is in the best position to actually weather those low prices. But critics accuse Prentice of being too vague on just how Alberta would cope.
Reassure Albertans by telling us what options are under consideration to deal with this problem.
This PC government always acts surprised whenever volatile resource revenue goes volatile.
The Moody's report again projects that even in the circumstances that we are currently in, Alberta will experience growth in the next year, growth that leads this country.
The price of a barrel of oil currently sits slightly above $60. Bank of America adding its 2 cents yesterday, saying the price could drop down to $50 over the coming months. More accusations of crumbling walls, flooded floors, and patients lining the hallways in Alberta hospitals.
It's third world conditions for people when they're the most vulnerable, sitting in waiting rooms, meters from care, attended to in a hallway stretcher or in a chair in the hallway. And that's simply wrong in the wealthiest place in the country.
Liberal leader Raj Sherman says the crisis has been a decade in the making. The University of Alberta doctors report says a huge backlog in the ER, sometimes forcing them to treat patients in the waiting area. The health minister, though, insists work is underway to address those medical shortfalls, but not good enough, say the critics.
This crisis in ER occurs repeatedly, and every time this government puts a Band-Aid on the problem, they then rip it off through their own incompetence.
There are challenges with an ever-growing population, but we have done some things in order to do that. We're reducing the dependence on acute care beds, opening up new long-term care beds.
Recent numbers from the U of A hospital say only about 40% of patients are being treated within the expected 4-hour time frame. A rally Wednesday in our city calling out Ottawa for failing refugees new to Canada. Protesters gathering outside MP Peter Goldring's office. They are demanding answers from the federal government over Bill C-43. which allows provinces to set a minimum residency requirement in order to receive social assistance. It affects newcomers, often fleeing difficult realities. When they arrive in Canada, it can take 5 to 8 months for them to secure a work permit.
So imagine you come here, you apply for refugee status, and it takes 5 or 6 months before you're even allowed to work. What are you supposed to live on?
I came to this country 50 years ago, and we needed assistance to get by initially. For that first few baby steps, a person often needs help.
The public interest group met with Goldring in November looking for answers. He promised that he would provide them at a later date. Bill C-43 could be passed by Christmas. Well, forget about California dreaming. The Oilers' Cali road trip closer to a nightmare.
Raquel out in front. Great pass, great finish by Matt Bolesky.
Anaheim Ducks dominating the Oilers in the first, but they'd only managed the one marker. They would add a second in the second. And of course, the Oilers haven't won a game this year when they've trailed in the first or second period. That didn't stop trying, of course. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins doing his best to change that stat, cutting the lead in half in the third, but that was as good as it gets for the Oil. The Ducks take the 2-1 win. The Oilers have dropped 2 in a row following this and the one in San Jose. They'll look to get back in the win column when they host those same Ducks tomorrow night at Rexall Place.